Have you ever gone into a conversation planning on staying calm, and 5 minutes later, you're frustrated, defensive, emotional, or completely shut down? Maybe it was an argument with your partner, tension with a coworker, feedback from a boss, conflict with a friend, or a difficult family conversation. And suddenly, the conversation stops feeling productive and starts feeling emotional. And that's because most difficult conversations don't fail because people don't care. They fail because nervous systems become overloaded. Welcome to the Mindset Lab, where we turn insight into actions and patterns into progress. If you're new here, I'm Coach Jose, and this channel is all about practical strategies to help you master your mindset, regulate your emotions, and create healthier relationships and communication patterns. And today we're talking about something everybody deals with: difficult conversations. Because most communication problems are not actually communication problems. They're regulation problems. And once emotions rise, communication quality usually drops. So if you want better conversations, you have to learn how to stay grounded while having them. So let's step into the lab. Look, here's what most people don't realize. Your brain often interprets conflict as a threat. Not necessarily a physical threat, but an emotional or social threat. Things like criticism, rejection, tension, judgment, conflict, or just being misunderstood can activate the nervous system very quickly. And once that happens, the brain shifts into survival mode. Now, you've probably heard of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn responses. Now, all of these show up in conversations all the time. Fight, well, that's arguing, interrupting, raising your voice. Flight, that's avoiding, shutting down, changing the subject. Freeze, well, that's when you mentally blank out or you feel stuck. And fawn, people pleasing just to reduce tension. Now, the tricky part is most people don't even realize that it's happening in real time. Once emotions become intense, the brain prioritizes protection over connection. Now, that's why during difficult conversations, people often stop listening to understand, and they start listening to defend themselves. And a defensive nervous system cannot communicate clearly. And honestly, you can see this happen. The body tightens, the tone changes, interruptions start. People become reactive. Now, instead of solving the problem, the conversation becomes all about protecting identity. It's like two people trying to have a meaningful conversation while both people's nervous systems are sounding off alarm bells. And this is why emotionally challenged conversations escalate so fast. So let's talk about the escalation loop, because this is how most difficult conversations spiral. The escalation loop starts with a trigger, which creates an emotional reaction, which leads to a defensive behavior. Then the other person reacts, which leads to more escalation until communication collapses. And once this loop starts, people begin interrupting each other, assuming intent, bringing up old issues, trying to mind read, stacking resentment, or simply trying to win. Right? It becomes less like communication and more like two people throwing gasoline on emotional fires. And the original issue often gets completely lost. Now the real conversation becomes who feels more attacked. So how do we communicate more effectively during difficult conversations? Now, not by becoming emotionless, but by staying regulated enough to communicate clearly. And one of the best ways to do that is using what I call the conversation reset method. Step 1, regulate before you communicate. Now, this is a biggie. You cannot communicate clearly from survival mode. So before difficult conversations, take a deep breath, slow down, ground yourself, lower your emotional intensity, regulate your body and your nervous system, because emotional flooding reduces clarity and calm increases perspective. Step 2, stay with the current issue. Avoid kitchen sinking, which is when people pile every unresolved issue into one conversation. Stay focused. One issue, one conversation, one goal. Because once people start emotionally stacking grievances, the nervous system overloads even faster. Step 3, speak from experience, not accusation. Now, this changes everything. You want to shift from, you always ignore me, to, I've been feeling disconnected lately. Or to shift from, you never listen, to, I don't feel heard right now. You see, one creates defensiveness. The other creates space for dialogue. Step 4, listen to understand, not to win. Now, most people listen to prepare a response, not to genuinely understand. But healthy communication requires curiosity, not combat. And this is especially important in leadership, relationships, parenting, and teamwork. Because understanding does not always mean agreement, but it does create clarity. Step 5, take a pause if needed. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is pause the conversation temporarily. This is not avoidance, but it's intentional regulation. Because there's a huge difference between I need to take a moment to reset and I'm shutting down completely. A short pause can prevent a lot of unnecessary damage. Healthy communication is not about avoiding emotion. It's about staying grounded enough to move through emotion constructively. Because difficult conversations are not just communication challenges. They're nervous system challenges. And the more regulated you become, the more effective your communication becomes. All right, so if this resonated with you, make sure to check out this week's full episode of the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, where we go much deeper into difficult conversations, emotional regulation, communication psychology, and navigating conflict more effectively. And if you want deeper reflections, mindset tools, and weekly challenges designed to help you apply these ideas in real life, come join me over on Substack at coachjosejohnson.substack.com. That's where we continue the conversation beyond the podcast and YouTube videos. And if this helped, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with somebody who might need this type of reminder today. And remember, you don't have to win every conversation to create understanding. And sometimes the strongest communication skill is not reacting immediately. And it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. So make it great.